Welcome back to another Construct video. In this video, I want to share my top 5 things I think Construct needs in order to grow. Now, number 5 is just more 3D tools. Now, I think Construct 3 can survive being a 2D engine. I think it does this really well. But if they do want to branch into the 3D world more, there's a couple of things they need to do. Obvious ones are having a 3D editor, having actually 3D models, being able to implement. Most of all, I think the most important thing they need at this current stage is just some 3D behaviors. Now, one thing that separates Construct from other game engines and why people love Construct is its shallow learning curve and how quick it is to do stuff in other game engines, which is far more complicated. With the 3D tools, however, this is not the case. Adding something as simple as 3D collision on a 3D shape takes a huge amount of time. So I think if they could add in a couple of small behaviors, main one being a solid behavior for the 3D shapes, this would go a really long way. The other two behaviors I would like to see, but not so important as the solid collision on 3D shapes, be an 8-direction platformer. So we can have 8-direction moving and jump as the platformer implemented already for us, working with the 3D shapes, and maybe a flying cam tool for stuff like flight simulators or space shooters. Number 4, I'm surprised that Construct don't have this already, but it makes a huge issue when trying to work with other people, and that's collaborative design. With game development, most of the time we want to work in teams, whether it's just having a small team of a designer and a programmer, but Construct forces you to work on your own. There's no real easy way to work with somebody else. Instead, you're limited by the tool to work by yourself or share files back and forth, which is messy, and most people just opt to use a different game engine. If Construct was to create some sort of collaborative planning or collaborative working environment, this would make a huge difference, because then you can have small teams working on a game together, with one person maybe doing the programming side, one person doing design, or multiple people designing stuff. So I think collaborative design would go a long way into helping Construct stand out amongst other game engines. Number 3 is an offline mode. Construct has a lot of issues with crashes, not auto-saving correctly. When you do auto-save, it asks you to sign into the cloud again, and it's just really messy and a bit of a nightmare. Having a bit of software that I can download that runs much faster and is more reliable encourages me more to make bigger projects. Having to go onto the internet every single time to load up Construct, for it to randomly crash, for me to lose work, which has happened quite a lot of time, is just such a ball ache when it's trying to work with these tools. Not only that, I've got files mixed between OneDrive, a Google Drive, and offline, because there's no real true way to save files or safe place to save files without going through other platforms to do it. So I think number 3 would actually be getting an offline mode for Construct, make a huge difference. Number 2 is actually allowing your profiles on Construct's website to let you upload Construct files. Now, we've got the arcade, which allows us to take our finished games and put them on there where other people can play. But actually, I don't think that's good enough. I think what we need is keep the arcades, and that should remain for finished projects, but allow people to upload tutorials, their programs, their progress to their own profile page. Allow people to follow those profiles and keep track of what other people are doing. Now, they do this on the homepage already if you go into any of the projects on the homepage, and these are fantastic projects, and they help me quite a lot come up with ideas or see how to do something. We can either preview a project and play it, or we can open the code and look at it. It's very similar to what Scratch does. Scratch, I think, does this really well, and it allows developers to stand out with their own profiles. If we look at tutorials online, most people will give you a link to a Dropbox or a Google Drive. I think not having the same place to put your files is a huge mistake. So Construct, you need to make sure that we can upload files to your website, to our own profiles. And number 1, I think it's just camera improvements for the 2D mode. We only have the scroll to, which really limits our creativity, and it means that most games come out the same. Now, there are some really clever ways to get around this and have other camera options, but it means we're having to go out our way in a game engine that's designed to be quick, easy, and simple. Stuff like zooming in and zooming out is really difficult. having multiple cameras to allow for an easy split screen mode. You can't really do without really clever canvas tricks, which can be quite laggy and a bit confusing to set up. Creating cutscenes becomes a nightmare. You have to have a separate object with a scroll to property, and then you have to take that property off the other object for a bit, to then put it back on the object when the cutscene's finished. So there's a really great advanced camera plugin that's coming. It is a paid for thing. I'm just going to have it shown on the screen at the moment. It just shows you some of the ideas that we can do, such as having a grid layout. So when you go from room to room, it just shows. Having the camera just fixed in a place really, really quick and easy, or a box trap. So when the player leaves the box, it only then starts from the camera. These are just some of the ideas, but having a way that we can have a more advanced camera to create cutscenes or just allowing different movement would make a huge, huge difference. So these are my top 5. They've not really been in any order, but I want to share my thoughts about what Construct needs to really survive against the other game engines, because it is struggling at the moment. Let me know what you think of my ideas, but also what ideas you've got and what things you would like to see from Construct.